I'm joined by former Obama ethics czar and the founder of The Contrarian, Norm Eisen. Norm, thank you for joining, and I'm actually really glad that you were able to come on today because this is a really timely moment here. Obviously, the issue of Elon Musk kind of figuring out his way for Doge to insert themselves into the Treasury, into finding access into our Treasury payment systems has made front headlines here, and it's caused a lot of concern for people. You've taken action against this issue. Can you explain what you've done?
I have, Brian, by filing a lawsuit. My group, State Democracy Defenders Fund, together with Public Citizen and with labor unions and retiree organization, has filed an action saying that this invasion of our treasury systems, which are packed with personal information about you and me and
Right.
everyone we know, that Doge has no business. There's no good reason for them to be in there to have access to our information. You know, the public outcry across our nation is matched by serious legal limits protecting our privacy, the Administrative Procedures Act, other legal limits on doing this. We think those limits have been transgressed, and we've gone to court to protect all of us from this intrusion on the Treasury systems.
Norm, obviously, the public outcry is a testament to how serious this is. And obviously, time is of the essence here because the longer that these folks who are unelected, largely working under the cloak of darkness, I mean, there's a lot of opacity surrounding Doge. The more time that they have to do this, the more access to information they'll have. And so how quick do you presume that we'll see some action from the judicial front?
I think you're going to see very brisk action from the courts on this. Those judges don't want Doge pawing over their personal information any more than you or I do, Brian. Brian and I were together at a democracy conference this weekend. I briefly visited him and then I vanished. He said, "Where'd you go?" I said, "I got to write my lawsuit." So we treated it as a matter of the utmost urgency. You know, here at State Democracy Defenders, we literally have been working around the clock, filing lawsuits constantly, explaining what they're about. Our philosophy is court of law, court of public opinion. And this is one of the most important against the Doge. It's not our only lawsuit that we filed. In fact, we were so worried about what might happen here and the cloak of secrecy under which this Doge is operating and the questions about its legality. The very first lawsuit of any kind filed against Donald Trump, I had somebody stationed to file it as soon as he took his oath of office, was to move against the Doge and to get the courts to make sure it's following the law. And now you see why we sued because of this Treasury scandal.
Right.
So we've been hammering on other issues, constitutional violations, legal, administrative violations. This president is running amok. He promised to be a dictator on day one. Brian, we've talked about this. Those who assume dictatorial powers very seldom voluntarily relinquish them after one day. And every day he's attempted to batter our Constitution, our laws, our rule of law system. But the good news is, my co-counsel, Public Citizen, our group, State Democracy Defenders Fund, and so many others have been in court suing, litigating. ACLU is my partner in the birthright citizenship case. Donald Trump tried to tear up the Constitution, the citizenship provisions of the Constitution. At The Contrarian, we write about this a lot. We're meeting shock and awe that Donald Trump is doing on behalf of autocracy with democracy, pro-democracy, shock and awe groups and individuals across the country. But we need much more.
Norm, how confident are you that even if you're successful in this litigation, I know you've been successful in these other TROs, these temporary restraining orders, how confident are you that for something like this, where Trump has just kind of imbued Elon Musk with all this power, and really he's seeing very little pushback on the legislative front, that the executive branch is even going to respect any rulings handed down by a judge?
Well, first of all, the credit is broadly distributed. Government officials have been litigating and securing TROs, C3 groups. We've been very active litigants out there. And I am confident that the courts, based on preliminary indications, are up to this challenge. Uh, Trump's own party's in control of Article 1, the Congress. Trump himself is in control of Article 2, the presidency. Although, remember, why is he attacking all these public servants? I'm also working on behalf of our terrific FBI and DOJ public servants who he's mercilessly attacked. There's 2 million people in the executive branch, but Donald Trump has control from the White House. Article 3, the judiciary is pushing back, and that's what we're going to look to as the front line of defense here. And so far, that's promising. And I think it's a wake-up call for the American people. They're not all the way awake yet. They're numb and they're shocked about what Donald Trump is doing. I mean, it is hard to believe.
Norm, are you able to go into any more detail about some of the retaliatory action that the unlawfully fired FBI agents or any other executive branch officials, prosecutors are doing in order to push back against these moves by the Trump administration?
You know, it's so ironic that Donald Trump was complaining about the defund the police movement because he wants to disable the police.
Right.
You have, and he's supporting criminals. You have 1,600 insurrectionists who he pardoned on day one. Over 140 of whom violently assaulted law enforcement. They've been let loose on the street. And now we have a story. He's trying to get the names of every FBI and DOJ person who worked on those cases. There's no good reason to do that except to put those names out there, put those people at risk. He's supporting criminals and he's attacking our law enforcement, both at the FBI and DOJ. I think it's absolutely outrageous. And again, I don't believe the American people will stand for this. I think that they are going to make their displeasure known. And I'm not going to get into too many details about it, but I don't think the courts are going to stand for it either, Brian. And as you know, I sent a letter to the Department of Justice with a distinguished former federal judge, Nancy Gertner, who's on our Democracy Defenders Board, Mark Zaid, one of our nation's best and most experienced litigators, particularly representing DOJ and FBI officials. And we wrote the Department of Justice yesterday, and we said there will be serious consequences at law if you persist on this court. At least for today, the names have not been released. And that would be a tremendous, tremendous wrong of historical proportions. And folks are not going to accept that.
So would it be fair to say that it is unlikely that these prosecutors are going to roll over in the face of these attacks by the Trump administration?
I've been so pleased at both DOJ and FBI at the integrity. For example, press reports that FBI senior officials, starting with the acting director, have insisted on following the law, have objected that some of the SACs, special agents in charge around the country, have been strongly defending their people. There's no good reason to collect and disseminate this information. And I think Donald Trump made a big mistake with his overreach in all of these different areas, because instead of slowly boiling the frog, he's thrown it in the microwave, and it's heinous. It's heinous. The reality is as heinous as the metaphorical misconduct.
Norm, why is it up to you and your team to do so much of what Congress should be doing. I mean, in a normal world, this is the kind of thing, especially appropriations is the kind of thing that the legislative branch would jealously guard. And yet they're completely content to just allow the executive branch, allow Donald Trump to usurp all of their power, all of their autonomy. And so now the onus is falling on you and groups that you work with and other groups that are aligned with the mission, when it should be the legislative branch who should be there protecting their own power.
Brian, we know that in a democracy, ultimately it comes down to you and to me. And we can't, a democracy is only as strong as its people. And unfortunately, the majorities, the GOP majorities in the House and in the Senate have shown bend the knee, kiss the ring, and bow down. Sometimes Trump doesn't even need to ask them.
Right.
Anticipatory obedience. They fall down before they've been hit.
Yeah.
And it's a shocking abdication of their duty to the American people, to the American idea, to the nation that they relied on in their rise to these important positions. But that's why the founders and the framers had a system of checks and balances. And if Article 1, the legislature won't hold back Article 2, the presidency, then we have Article 3, and the courts have been active. And ultimately, you have the what I refer to as the fourth and fifth branches, because you have our great state officials, many of them, particularly in blue states, in purple states, governors, AGs, mayors, they are pushing back, they're litigating. And then you have also the classic fourth branch, the media.
Norm, do you have the support that you need? And is there anything that my audience can do? I mean, look, I know that there is an absolute hunger, at least among my audience and for myself too, to see people actually stand up and take action against so much of this unlawful behavior by Donald Trump. You're out there doing the thing, and I think that's commendable, and I think a lot of people are looking for that exact type of action, that exact type of response. So is there any way that my audience can support the work that you and your teams are doing?
Well, Brian, thank you for having me back so often to talk about the mission. And really, at State Democracy Defenders Fund, we're part of a very large ecosystem of those who are moving. If they're inclined to support our work in the court of law, visit our website, State Democracy Defenders Fund. It'll take you right there. There, you can support us financially. Any amount, very welcome. But it's not enough in the court of law. You also have to fight in the court of public opinion. That's why I left CNN. That was the subhead. The real headline was Jen Rubin left the Washington Post. We started our own media platform inspired by Brian, The Contrarian. That's grown to almost 450,000 subscribers now. We get well over 1 million views a day. Join us in the battle in the court of public opinion by subscribing to The Contrarian or by visiting State Democracy Defenders Fund. But the most important thing that each and every one of you is doing truly is listening to the conversation, thinking about how you can engage, getting ready as Americans to peacefully and loyally defend our Constitution. It really is the ultimate safeguard of American democracy is the American people. So help us out, stay tuned in, and we're going to get through this thing together. We're at a crossroads. Will we go the way of Poland and Brazil, which ousted autocratic regimes like Trump's, restored democracy? Will we go the way of Hungary or Turkey, where they failed? I believe in the strength of the American people. And I think the American people, from the grassroots to the treetops, are starting to wake up and get into the work of our lifetimes to stop this democratic backsliding and put us back on the path that we can all be proud of as Americans.
All right. Well, Norm, I got to say again, on behalf of myself and all of my viewers, thank you so much for the work that you and your team are doing, for being out there and fighting. I'll put the link to State Democracy Defenders Fund right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. I'll also put in the post description of this video a link to The Contrarian, which is the news outlet you, Jen Rubin, and your other colleagues have founded that are out there holding truth to power. I again appreciate all the work you're doing and thank you for taking the time.
Thanks, Brian. And thanks to everybody watching and listening and supporting this shared effort to advance American democracy, end the backsliding. Let's get back to what we can all be proud of.